Hey there, gang. In this video, we're going to take a look at fractions, decimals, and percents and remind ourselves how we can work with fractions and either simplify them or change them to mixed numbers or improper form. And then we'll talk about at the end of the video how to go back and forth between fractions, decimals, and percents. So we're going to start out with the different parts of a fraction. And if we have the fraction 7/8, okay, you should know that the top part of a fraction is called the numerator, and the bottom part of a fraction is called the denominator. So that should be reviewed for you. All numbers that can be written as fractions, so in this format, are what we call rational numbers. So rational numbers is just a fancy way of saying fractions. Simplest form of a fraction just means a fraction that cannot be reduced any further. Okay, a fraction is in simplest form when it cannot be reduced any further. So in examples 1 through 6 here, we're just going to take each of these fractions and we're going to write them in simplest form. Okay, and again, that's just another way of saying reduce each of the fractions here. So 8/20ths, 8/20ths, we know 8 and 20 are both divisible by 4. 8 divided by 4 is 2, and 20 divided by 4 is 5, so that fraction simplifies to 2/5. 21/27ths, both 21 and 27 are divisible by 3. So this fraction, if you divide 21 by 3, you get 7, and 27 by 3, you get 9. So this reduces to 7/9. Number 3, -12/42. 12 and 42 are both divisible by 6, so this is going to stay a negative. 12 divided by 6 is 2, and 42 divided by 6 is 7. So this becomes -2/7. What I want you to do now is pause the video and then try simplifying 4, 5, and 6 on your own. Once you have those simplified, click play and check your answers, please. Okay, you should have had these for your answers. Number 4, 16/56. You can divide 16 and 56 both by 8 to get 2/7. Number 5, 18 divided by 3 is just 6, so that becomes the whole number 6. And then number 6, a -8 divided over 28. Both of these are divisible by 4, and so you get -2/7. Okay, so now we're going to talk about what improper form means. If you remember improper fractions from last year, that's simply a fraction in which the numerator is larger than the denominator. Improper fractions are fractions in which the numerator is larger than the denominator. Okay, so for example, up here, 18/3 is an example of an improper fraction. 18 was the numerator and 3 was the denominator. Fractions in which the numerator is less than or smaller than the denominator are proper fractions. So those are fractions like 1/2 and 4/5. Those are proper fractions. Mixed numbers, okay, mixed numbers are simply a whole number and a proper fraction. Okay, a whole number and a proper fraction put together are mixed numbers. So 2 and 1/3 would be an example of a mixed number. You can convert from improper fractions to mixed numbers and vice versa rather easily, and so we're going to review that in these next few examples. In 7 through 9, we're going to take each improper fraction and rewrite it as a mixed number. So to do that, you have to remember that the fraction bar means division. So 19/6 really means 19 divided by 6. So it means you need to ask yourself, how many whole times will 6 go into 19? And so we can do that by writing some division out here. Well, 6 goes into 19 3 whole times. And then we know if we subtract 18, 3 times 6 from 19, we get a 1. So that's a remainder 1. This becomes 3 and 1/6 as a mixed number. Okay, 1 going above the original divisor, 3 and 1/6. Negative 26 thirds. Negative 26 thirds. Again, think of that as 26 divided by 3. 3 will go into 26 8 whole times. So this becomes a negative 8 as the whole number part. 8 times 3 is 24, and so you subtract there, you get 2 as the remainder. So this becomes negative 8 and 2 thirds as a mixed number. Negative 8 and 2 thirds. Number 9, we have negative 35 eighths. So 35 divided by 8. 8 goes into 35 4 whole times. So this is negative 4. And 4 times 8 is 32. So you get a remainder of 3. So this becomes negative 4 and 3 eighths as a mixed number. For 10 through 12, we're going to do the opposite. This time we're going to take mixed numbers and make them improper fractions. So number 10, we have 3 and 1/5. To make a mixed number an improper fraction, you multiply the denominator and the whole number. So we take 3 times 5, which is 15, and then we add the numerator. 15 plus 1 is 16, so this becomes 16 fifths. Number 11, negative 1 and 9/10. 10 times 1 is 10. Add 9, you get 19, so this becomes negative 19 tenths. Number 12, negative 4 and 3/7. Well, 7 times 4 is 28, and then we add 3, we get 31. So this is negative 31 over 7. Okay, going to the back side, now we're going to jump to how to convert between fractions, decimals, and percents. So I'm actually going to cheat on these notes here, and I'm going to use a basic calculator to go from fractions to decimals. Eventually you'll have access to your calculators in this class, but for our first unit it's going to be without a calculator. So when you guys come to class, we're going to review how to do this with long division as well. But for the purpose of these notes here, I'm going to go ahead and pull out my basic calculator just to show you the quick way to go from a fraction to a decimal. So to go from a fraction to a decimal, you divide the numerator by the denominator. So 9/16 is really 9 divided by 16. And if we do that on our calculator, 9 divided by 16, we get the decimal 0.5625. So that would be the decimal form of this number. And then to make this a percent, okay, well, percents are always, remember, out of 100. So making this a percent means we're multiplying the decimal by 100, or we're simply moving the decimal point 2 places to the right. If I move the decimal point here 2 places to the right, I get 56.25%. So all of these numbers mean the same thing. This is the fraction form, this is the decimal, this is the percent. I can do the same thing if I start with the percent. If I have 84%, to make this a decimal, I need to move the decimal 2 places to the left. Well, the decimal on 84 is right here to the right of the 4, so moving it 2 places to the left would give me the decimal 0.84. And then to make 0.84 a fraction, we do 3 steps. We read it. 0.84 is the same as 84 100ths. Okay, this is in the 100 spot right here, the 4, so this is the same as 84 out of 100. So we read it, we write it, 84 100ths, and we reduce it. 84 100ths reduces to 21 over 25. 84 and 100 are both divisible by 4, so this is the fraction 21 25ths. One thing to make note of here are repeaters. Decimals that have a repeating digit can be written with the bar to show the repetition. Okay, so for instance, if I see something like 0.3 with the bar over it, that means 0.3 repeating. The denominator for these types of fractions with the repeating digits is always 9. Okay, the denominator for repeating decimals when you make them fractions is always 9. That's something good to remember. So we're going to practice this now by completing this chart below. I've given you one of the 3 forms in each of the rows on this chart, either the fraction, the decimal, or the percent, and your job is to come up with the other 2. So for the fraction 9/20ths, again, to make this a decimal, we're going to take the numerator 9 divided by the denominator 20. And again, in class, you'll be doing this using long division. For now, we'll trust our little calculator here, and we see that it's 0.45. And then to make that a percent, I need to move the decimal point 2 places to the right, and that gives us 45%. Okay, 5%. To make that a decimal, I have to remember that the decimal point is here to the right of 5. If I move this decimal point 2 places to the left, 1 place to the left would give me a 0.5. 2 places would become 0.05. So this as a decimal is 0.05. 0.05 is the same as 5 hundredths, is how you read that, 5 hundredths. So the fraction is 5 out of 100, and that reduces to 1/20th. 5 and 100 are both divisible by 5, so the reduced fraction form of this is 1/20th. Okay, 0.26. Okay, 0.26 as a fraction, we can write it as 26 out of 100. And then to reduce that, I can divide both 26 and 100 by 2, and I get 13/50ths. So that's 13/50ths as a fraction. As a percent, we're moving that decimal point to the right 2 places, and that gives us 26%. Eleven 28ths, again, we'll pull out the calculator. 11 divided by 28 is this long decimal here, 0.39285714285714. Okay, our rule of thumb here is we'll go to 4 decimal places if necessary, and then if it's not an obvious repeating decimal, we'll simply approximate. So the 10,000ths place is where we'll go 4 decimal places, 0.3928. And if you take a look at that 8 there, and you look to the right of the 8, you see we have a 5. That means we're going to round the 8 itself up to a 9. So we'll say that this decimal is approximately 0.3929. As a percent, again, we're going to move the decimal point 2 places to the right, so that would become approximately 39.29%. And again, that squiggly little equal sign there is how we signified that we've rounded in this case. That's approximately. 38%. Okay, 38% as a decimal is just going to be 0.38. And then making that a fraction, that would be 38 out of 100. And if I can divide both those by 2, that gives me 19/50ths. 19/50ths. 1 1/9. 1 1/9. So anytime you have a fraction and the denominator is 9, that tells you that you're going to get a repeating decimal. Okay, a repeating decimal. In this case, the decimal is going to be, we have a whole number of 1. Okay, a whole number of 1. And 1/9 as a decimal would be 0.1 repeating. It's just going to be the numerator repeating. Okay, if you don't believe me, try 1/9 on your calculator. 1 divided by 9 is 0.1 repeating. As a percent, I just need to move the decimal point over 2 places to the right, while 1.1 repeating looks like this. So if I move the decimal point 2 places to the right, I get 111.1 repeating percent. Okay, what I want you to do now is pause the video, and I want you to try the rest of the chart on your own. Once you've filled in the rest of the chart, I want you to go ahead and click play to check your answers, please. Okay, so go ahead and check your chart now with what I have for the rest of it and see if you have the correct answers. The 2 I would really pay attention to are the 2 rows here at the bottom. So 55.5 repeating percent as a decimal is 0.5 repeating, moving the decimal point 2 places to the left. As a fraction, remember I said anytime you have a repeating decimal, to write that as a fraction, you just simply put the part repeating over 9. So 0.5 repeating is the same as 5/9. Okay, 5 is the repeating part, and then over 9 to signify it's a repeating decimal. The same is true with 2.3 repeating here. So writing that as a fraction, we'd actually use a mixed number, 2 is the whole part, and then 0.3 repeating would be the same as 3 over 9, 3/9, and 3/9 reduces to 1/3. So this is 2 and 1/3 as a mixed number. If you have questions over this chart or anything on these notes, be sure to jot those down so I can answer those the next time I see you in class. Until then, have a nice day. You're all wonderful people. Take care.